What happens when one of Hollywood's most private legends finally has enough of live TV chaos and decides to walk off the set in front of millions? Before we dive into the moment that left the studio frozen, make sure you subscribe to Talk Flair and hit like and drop a comment right now, because you're about to witness a confrontation no one saw coming. The air inside the studio felt charged even before the cameras rolled. A strange tension hummed beneath the bright lights, the kind of tension that made producers whisper behind clipboards and stagehands avoid eye contact. Leonardo DiCaprio, calm, thoughtful, famously composed, stood backstage, rubbing his thumb slowly over the edge of a water bottle. A tiny, almost invisible gesture, but one that hinted at the pressure simmering beneath the surface. He took a slow, steady breath as a producer signaled him forward. The cheers erupted the moment he stepped into view. The audience adored him. Titanic, The Revenant, his decades of work, the mythic status he carried with him like a shadow. But today, Leo wasn't here to be adored. He was here to discuss an environmental project he'd spent years preparing, a global initiative he believed could actually change something. And for once, he wasn't playing a character. He wasn't reading lines. This mattered to him. But across the table, Joy Behar leaned back in her chair with an expression Leo hadn't missed, a look that promised fireworks. The moment he sat down, Whoopi Goldberg smiled warmly. "Leonardo DiCaprio, everybody," she said. The audience roared again. The applause faded. Cameras zoomed in. And the segment began. "It's great to have you back," Whoopi said. "You've been doing incredible work with conservation. Really inspiring stuff." Leo nodded gently. "Thank you. It's been a long time coming, honestly." "The project." Joy cut in before he could finish. Yeah, saving the planet. Wonderful. But Leo, can we talk about something a little more interesting? Something the audience actually wants to hear." A small, uncomfortable ripple echoed from the crowd. Leo's eyebrows lifted slightly. "I think saving the planet is pretty interesting," he said calmly. Joy shrugged with exaggerated boredom. "Sure, but people also want to know about your lifestyle. Your vacations. The whole yacht thing. You know, the environmental guy with the big boats narrative." The audience tensed. A few gasps. A few chuckles. The producers stared wide-eyed from behind the cameras. Whoopi shot Joy a warning look. "Joy." Leo, however, didn't flinch, though a faint muscle tightened near his jaw. "I'm here to talk about the project," he said, still composed but with an unmistakable edge beneath the surface. Joy leaned forward. "Come on, Leo. The hypocrisy conversation is everywhere. Why not address it? If you're really passionate, why not give up the yachts entirely? Or the private jets? Aren't you tired of pretending you're above it?" The studio went silent. Leo's breathing shifted. Not louder, but sharper. Controlled. The way someone breathes when they're holding back a tide. He spoke slowly. "Joy, I'm not pretending to be above anything. I've never claimed to be perfect. But I've invested my life and resources into actual solutions. Real work. Not just talking points." Joy scoffed. "Oh, please, Leo. People say that all the time." Whoopi cut in quickly. "Can we let him finish his thought?" But Joy wasn't done. "No, I want to know why he can't admit that he likes luxury more than the work he claims to do. Why not be honest about that?" Leo's eyes darkened, not with anger, but with the kind of disappointment that hits deeper than rage. "If you invited me here to question my sincerity instead of discussing the project," he said quietly, "then maybe I shouldn't have come." The audience murmured. A few clapped, unsure if they should. The energy in the room twisted, something between shock and anticipation. Joy folded her arms. "Well, Leonardo, this is the view. We ask tough questions here. If you can't handle that—" "For the love of God, Joy," Whoopi muttered under her breath. Leo leaned forward, his voice suddenly steadier, firmer, sharper. "You didn't ask a tough question. You took a cheap shot. There's a difference." The crowd erupted. Some cheering. Some gasping. Some whispering frantically. Joy blinked, stunned. Not used to being called out so bluntly on air. But she regained herself quickly. "So you're offended? Is that it? Hollywood's golden boy can't take criticism." Leo exhaled, a long, slow breath, the kind that happens when someone reaches the limit of their patience. "What I can't take," he said, "is trying to discuss something that could actually help people, help the planet, and having it turned into a tabloid punchline." He glanced beyond the table toward the producers. They were frozen. No one dared signal, no one dared cut to commercial. Whoopi stepped in, voice gentle but firm. "Leo, let's bring it back to the project." Joy interrupted again. Oh, come on, Whoopi, don't baby him. Leo's head snapped toward her. Not aggressively, but decisively, like someone finally recognizing a line that had been crossed. You know what? He said, his tone icy calm. I've done thousands of interviews. I've been grilled, challenged, pressured. But I've never seen someone deliberately twist the entire purpose of a visit just to spark outrage. The audience held its breath. This isn't journalism, he said. It's nonsense. A stunned silence spread through the studio. Joy opened her mouth, but no words came out. Leo pushed back his chair slowly, deliberately. The scraping sound echoed across the set like a warning bell. Whoopi reached out, uncertain. Leo, hold on a second. But he stood up. I'm done with this, he said softly. I'm done with this nonsense. Gasps shot through the audience. A few people stood up instinctively. Some yelled no. Others clapped, caught in the shock of the moment. Leo took one step back from the table, then another. For the first time in his career, he looked less like an actor and more like a man who had been backed into a corner for far too long. He didn't storm out. He didn't shout. He simply turned away, the cameras catching the tension in his shoulders as he walked toward the edge of the set. The audience was already on their feet. Joy Behar sat frozen, completely stunned. Whoopi lowered her head, whispering something under her breath, something the microphones didn't catch. And as Leonardo DiCaprio disappeared behind the curtain, the studio erupted into chaotic whispers, the kind that signal the beginning of a story that won't be forgotten anytime soon. The moment Leonardo DiCaprio vanished behind the curtain, the studio dissolved into chaos, quiet chaos, the kind that spreads in ripples, tightening throats and widening eyes. Producers scrambled, hands on earpieces, whispering frantic instructions that contradicted one another. Audience members were still standing, leaning sideways, straining to catch a glimpse backstage, as if they couldn't believe what they'd just witnessed. Joy Behar sat stiff as a statue, her face pale, her expression unreadable beneath the harsh stage lights. For once, she looked unsettled, thrown off balance by the unexpected. Her fingers tapped lightly against the mug in front of her, a small, involuntary staccato of nerves. Whoopi Goldberg leaned toward her, voice low but edged with frustration. Joy, why would you push him like that? Joy blinked, inhaling sharply as if coming out of a daze. It was a question, she muttered. A tough one, maybe, but... No, Whoopi cut in. It wasn't a question. You went after him. Sunny Hostin, who had been silent the entire time, finally spoke. We need to go to commercial. Her voice trembled slightly, the only hint that even she felt the tension slicing through the air. But the control room couldn't cut yet. They needed time. They needed coordination. They needed to figure out if Leonardo DiCaprio, one of the most respected, least controversial figures in Hollywood, had truly walked out of a live interview, or if he could still be convinced to return. Backstage, Leo moved with purpose, his steps quick but controlled. He wasn't running. He wasn't hiding. But the frustration simmering in him was almost visible, like heat waves rising off pavement. Behind him, a producer hurried forward, her voice trembling with urgency. Leo, wait, please, just give us a second. He stopped at the base of the back stairs and turned slowly, his expression unreadable. You invited me here to talk about the project, he said. That wasn't an interview. That was an ambush. The producer swallowed hard. I understand. But the segment, it went sideways. Joy didn't. Joy did exactly what she meant to do, Leo interrupted. His voice wasn't loud. It was controlled, the sound of someone who had rehearsed patience for years and finally run out of it. Another producer approached, an older man with gray hair, a clipboard tucked under his arm. He looked apologetic, almost desperate. Leo, he began, we are truly sorry. Joy tends to push things. But we can reset. We can come back from this. Leo stared at him for a long moment. Why would I walk back out there? He asked quietly. To give her another chance to twist my words? We'll keep the conversation on track, the man insisted. I'll make sure of it. We just need you for the final segment. 2 minutes. That's all. Leo exhaled slowly, running a hand across his forehead. He wasn't angry in the way most people explode, fists clenched, voices raised. This was a quieter fury, deeper, sharper, a disappointment that cut more than outrage ever could. He looked past the producers at the glowing exit sign down the hall. That was the easy road, the clean break. The moment he could walk away, let the media twist the narrative however they wanted, and refuse to engage further. But the other path, the harder one, was back onto that stage. back into the lion's den, back into the glare of cameras and the uneasy stares of an audience who had watched a Hollywood icon break composure for the first time. The younger producer stepped closer, voice gentler now. Leo, you came here for your cause. If you leave now, that gets buried. If you go back, even for a minute, you control the narrative. That stopped him. Leo's eyes lifted, meeting hers. She wasn't manipulating him. She wasn't pushing him. She was simply telling the truth. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Leo nodded slightly. 2 minutes, he said. No personal attacks. No cheap shots. Only the project. The producers nodded vigorously. Of course. Absolutely. Bring Whoopi backstage, Leo added. I want her to introduce the segment. They didn't hesitate. They sprinted toward the set, leaving Leo alone with his thoughts. Meanwhile, on stage, the audience had been ushered into uneasy chatter. Joy tapped her fingers faster now. Tap, tap, tap. She hated when things slipped out of her control, when a moment spun unpredictably. But a tiny spark in her expression, one she tried to hide, suggested she knew she'd gone too far. Whoopi returned a moment later, frustration etched into every line of her face. She leaned in again. You need to fix this, she whispered sharply. Joy bristled. Me? He's the one who walked out. Because you made it personal. I asked a question. You attacked him. Joy exhaled, rolling her eyes. We're not here to coddle celebrities. We're not here to goad them into storms either, Whoopi snapped back. The audience fell silent again as a stagehand rushed up to Whoopi and whispered something in her ear. Her eyes widened. She nodded sharply, then rose from her seat. The cameras faded out for a commercial break, just as Whoopi disappeared backstage. What she found there was not a diva in meltdown, not a celebrity throwing a tantrum, but a man sitting quietly on a folding chair, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor in deep thought. Whoopi approached him slowly. Hey, she said gently. You okay? Leo looked up. I shouldn't have snapped. You didn't snap, Whoopi said. You stood up for yourself. He shook his head. I just didn't expect her to go there. Joy pushes. It's what she does, Whoopi said. But this time, yeah, she crossed a line. Leo leaned back slightly, the tension in his eyes softening. I'll go back out there, he said. But I'm not doing a circus. I'll say what I came to say, and then I'm leaving. Fair enough, Whoopi replied. I'll steer the ship. She offered him her hand. Leo took it and stood. As they walked back toward the stage, the studio lights brightened again. The audience quieted. Joy sat straighter, her expression unreadable now, her gaze fixed on the table in front of her. The countdown began. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The red light blinked on. Whoopi cleared her throat. We're back, she said, her voice steady. And Leonardo DiCaprio has graciously rejoined us. The audience erupted into applause, not the cheerful kind, but the relieved, anxious kind that follows a near disaster. Leo stepped back into the frame, the stage lights hitting his face once again. But something had changed in his eyes. They weren't calm anymore. They were resolute, determined, ready. And whether Joy realized it or not, the real confrontation, the real explosion, was still coming. The applause slowly faded as Leonardo DiCaprio settled back into his seat. The studio felt different now, quieter, heavier, as though everyone collectively understood they were no longer watching a casual daytime interview, but an unfolding storm. Whoopi Goldberg leaned slightly toward Leo, her voice measured. Thank you for coming back, she said. Let's give you the space to talk about what you came here for. Leo nodded, clasping his hands together, grounding himself in the moment. I appreciate that. I'm here because we're launching a global conservation initiative, one that focuses on coastal restoration and renewable infrastructure in communities affected by climate change. It's taken years. Joy's voice sliced through his sentence like a blade. Right, but Leonardo, people at home want to know if you're actually planning to follow your own advice, or if this is just another Hollywood PR stunt. A collective groan rippled from the audience. Whoopi's jaw tightened. Sunny Hostin placed a hand on the table, her fingers curling in caution, as though physically bracing for impact. Leo turned toward Joy slowly. Very slowly. I thought we agreed, he said quietly, that we were done with personal attacks. Joy gave a small shrug, feigning innocence. I'm just doing my job. No, Whoopi snapped, her patience evaporating. Doing your job means asking questions that matter, not poking him like you're trying to start a fight. Joy ignored her completely. She leaned closer, locking eyes with Leo. People want honesty, Leonardo. They want authenticity. They want to know if you're willing to sacrifice luxury for the causes you claim to care about. Leo inhaled a steady, tense breath. You're not asking for honesty, he said. You're asking for spectacle. Joy lifted her eyebrows with a faux sweet smile. Is that what you think this is? Leo answered before Whoopi could intervene. Yes, it's exactly what this is. The crowd erupted. Cheers. Gasps. Someone shouted. Let him talk. Another voice echoed. Joy, stop. But Joy pressed on, relentless. Then go ahead, she said. Let's hear this noble cause of yours. Convince the audience that this isn't just a celebrity guilt project. Leo's eyes hardened, not in anger, but in something heavier. Resolve. Disappointment. A realization that he had given the show a chance, and the show had squandered it. Still, he spoke. This initiative isn't about me, he began, voice firm. It's about communities losing their homes to rising waters. It's about ecosystems collapsing. It's about families who don't have the privilege of pretending this isn't happening. Joy opened her mouth again, but Whoopi extended her arm as if warning her. Let him talk. Leo continued. We've assembled climatologists, engineers, marine biologists, real experts, and we've created a plan to restore 150 miles of coastline by 2030. That's what I came here to discuss, not my private life. Not a narrative you want to paint for entertainment. Joy leaned back with exaggerated ease. So you don't think the public deserves transparency? Leo finally let out a short, humorless laugh. Transparency? Joy, if you wanted transparency, you'd ask about the science, the funding, the partnerships. Instead, you're asking about yachts. The audience burst into applause, loud, forceful, emotional applause. Joy's face flushed. She tried to smile, but her voice cracked slightly as she said, I mean, people are curious. But curiosity isn't journalism, Leo replied, his voice deeper now, sharpened by truth. Curiosity is gossip. And I didn't come here to feed gossip. Whoopi nodded emphatically. Exactly. Sunny finally spoke, her tone soft but powerful. Leo, the work you're doing is incredibly important. I think our viewers would love to understand how they can help or get involved. Leo looked at her with gratitude. Thank you. That's the question I hoped someone would ask. He turned back to the audience. Anyone watching right now, if you care about this planet, even a little, go online and look up the initiative. Volunteer. Donate if you can. Share the information. We don't fix the planet with celebrities. We fix it with communities. The audience applauded again, longer this time, more united. But Joy, wounded by being overshadowed, leaned forward once more, pushing the tension to its breaking point. Okay, she said, but let's be real. You could fund entire environmental programs with the money you spend clubbing on yachts every year. Whoopi slammed her palm on the table. Joy! The audience gasped so loudly it sounded like a wave crashing through the room. Joy blinked, startled. Whoopi stared at her, eyes narrowed with a fire rarely seen on air. Enough. Seriously. This isn't fair. And it's not what we do here. He came in good faith, and you're twisting everything he says. The studio went dead silent. Joy opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Leo shook his head softly. This proves my point, he said. This right here. Joy swallowed. Her voice was smaller when she spoke again. And what point is that? That you care less about truth, Leo replied, and more about creating conflict. Joy stiffened. The audience murmured in uneasy agreement. Leo sat back slightly, his voice quieter now, steadier, more dangerous in its calmness. I've faced critics for decades. Directors, journalists, activists, world leaders. But this tactic of provoking for the sake of provoking, it's tired. And it's harmful. Joy's eyes narrowed again. Maybe you're just too sensitive. Leo didn't even flinch. Or maybe, he said, I'm just tired of being treated like a headline instead of a human being. The audience roared loud, explosive applause that filled the studio. People stood up. A woman in the front row wiped away tears. The tension overflowed into raw, emotional reaction. Joy's face flushed deeper. She shifted in her seat, suddenly unsure of herself. Whoopi looked at Leo with a strange mix of admiration and disbelief, as though even she had never seen this side of him. Sunny nodded slowly, murmuring, Wow. Leo took one last breath, preparing himself for the final blow. But let's be honest, he said. This interview was never about my project. And maybe I should have recognized that sooner. He pushed back his chair, not aggressively, but with quiet finality. The audience fell silent again. Joy stared at him, confused. What are you doing? Leo stood. What I should have done the moment this went off the rails, he said. A ripple of shock trembled through the room. Whoopi whispered under her breath. Oh no, not again. Leo glanced at the audience. Thousands of eyes glued to him, breath held, waiting for the explosion they could feel building. And then he spoke the line that sent the studio into a freefall. I'm done. For real this time. Then he turned calm, steady, unwavering. And for the second time, he walked off the view. The second Leonardo DiCaprio walked out, the studio didn't just react, it erupted. A thunder of gasps, whispers, and shouts filled the room as the cameras struggled to keep up. The view didn't cut to commercial. They couldn't. No one in the control room even remembered to hit the button. Leo's figure disappeared behind the heavy black curtain once more, but the weight of his absence hung suspended above every seat, every camera, every breath. Joy Behar sat frozen, her posture rigid, her expression a mix of shock, hurt, and stubborn defiance. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. It was as if all the bravado she lived on had evaporated with Leo's departure. Whoopi Goldberg stared at the empty space where Leo had stood moments earlier. Her jaw tightened, her eyes narrowed, not at him, but at the situation. At how badly this had gone. At how preventable it all had been. Sunny Hostin placed a hand over her chest, visibly rattled. Oh my God, he actually left, she whispered into her microphone, forgetting for a moment they were still live. The audience buzzed in frantic disbelief. He walked out again? Did Joy push him too far? I've never seen anything like that. He was right to leave. The murmurs swelled like a rising tide. And at the center of it all, Joy Behar straightened her back, inhaled, and forced words out. Well, she said, her voice tighter than before. That escalated quickly. Dead silence. Not a laugh. Not a chuckle. Not even one supportive clap. Whoopi turned her head toward Joy slowly. Very slowly. Joy, she said, her tone sharp enough to cut glass. This isn't the time. Joy's eyes flickered. I was just... No, Whoopi cut in. Not now. Not after everything that just happened. Joy bristled. So what? We're blaming me. Sunny leaned in gently. Joy, the segment went off the rails. And he tried to bring it back. Joy's breath hitched, as though she'd been slapped with the truth she had tried to outrun. Before she could respond, a producer sprinted onto the stage, on live television, something almost unheard of. He leaned down and whispered urgently into Whoopi's ear. Whoopi's eyebrows shot up. He left the building. The producer nodded. Joy turned her head sharply. He's gone. Completely? Another nod. Sunny sighed softly. Well, there it is. Whoopi exhaled in disbelief. Ladies and gentlemen, she said into the camera, Leonardo DiCaprio has left the view, and obviously this situation escalated far more than anyone intended. The audience hummed in stunned agreement. Whoopi wasn't done. We owe you context, she continued. This started as a conversation about a serious environmental project, and it became something else. Something it shouldn't have. Joy shifted uncomfortably. I asked questions. That's my job. Hard questions are fine, Sunny said carefully, but personal attacks aren't journalism. Joy swallowed, suddenly aware of 1,000 eyes on her. Viewers, producers, co-hosts, all watching her with an unfamiliar silence. Whoopi folded her hands. We're going to take a break, she announced. When we return, we'll talk about what happened and how we move forward. The red light went off. The moment the show cut, everything descended into pandemonium. Producers rushed to Joy, speaking in frantic whispers. One leaned in close. Joy, Twitter is exploding. Clips are everywhere. Everyone's siding with Leo. Joy's eyes widened as she grabbed a phone off the table. Notifications flooded the screen. Hashtag Leo walks out. Hashtag the view meltdown. Hashtag Joy went too far. Hashtag Leonardo DiCaprio was right. The hashtags were trending within minutes. Backstage, security officers confirmed. Leo hadn't slowed down, hadn't paused, hadn't spoken to anyone. He walked straight through the side hallway, past the green rooms, out the studio door, and into a black SUV waiting at the curb. He didn't slam the door. He didn't shout. He simply told the driver, airport. Meanwhile, online, chaos exploded. Every entertainment site posted breaking news within seconds. Leonardo DiCaprio walks out of the view, twice. Joy Behar clashes with Leo in shocking live TV blow-up. Audience stunned as Hollywood icon rejects cheap shot questions. Clips circulated. Millions of views poured in. Fans worldwide posted reactions at lightning speed. He handled himself with so much grace. She pushed him way too far. This is the first time I've ever seen Leo lose composure. Good for him for standing up for himself. Joy Behar owes him an apology. Inside the studio, Joy rubbed her temples, her confidence cracking. I didn't mean to make him look bad, she muttered to herself. I was trying to get a real answer. Whoopi looked at her, exhaustion settling into her features. You can't poke people just to see how far you can push them. That's not a discussion. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but something stopped her. Maybe embarrassment. Maybe realization. Maybe the weight of millions watching her misstep in real time. Sunny shook her head softly. He tried to stay. He came back. He tried. Joy said nothing. The View returned from commercial. Whoopi took the lead. We want to address what happened earlier, she said. Leonardo DiCaprio is a respected guest, and while conversations can get heated, they need to remain respectful. Joy swallowed hard. The audience watched her expectantly, waiting. She finally spoke. I may have pushed too hard, she said, voice cracking. My intention wasn't to make him feel attacked. For the first time that morning, the audience softened, not forgiving, but acknowledging. Sunny nodded. Accountability matters. And with that, the broadcast stumbled forward, shaken, bruised, unforgettable. Hours later, Leonardo DiCaprio boarded his flight, sliding into a window seat, finally exhaling. He looked out at the airport lights, reflecting on what had happened. He didn't regret leaving. He didn't regret speaking up. What bothered him wasn't the argument. It was how easily a meaningful conversation could be derailed by noise. He pulled out his phone and typed a single message to his team. Next time, let's choose platforms that value substance. The team replied instantly. Agreed. And just like that, the story became legend. A rare moment when Hollywood's calmest, quietest figure reached his breaking point and walked away from the chaos of daytime TV live, unapologetically, and with millions watching. The world had seen a new side of Leonardo DiCaprio. One that didn't bend. One that didn't entertain nonsense. One that stood up, walked away, and said enough. And that moment, captured forever, became one of the most explosive celebrity confrontations in modern talk show history. If you were watching, you'd never forget it. And now, neither will the world. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Did Leonardo DiCaprio do the right thing by walking out? Did Joy push him too far, or was this bound to happen? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love these intense, cinematic breakdowns of shocking celebrity moments, make sure you subscribe to Talk Flair and hit the bell so you never miss another explosive story. More dramatic showdowns are coming. Stay tuned.